heard.
Okay, so we're continuing our discussion on fear-based values, which, as we say, we have the least popular YouTube channel in the country, and this topic is the least popular topic, but it is the most important topic, and I think that in the modern era, people, if something's important, people are focused on like a news or a sensationalized story. And this isn't sensationalized. I think there's two reasons people don't realize that the most important topic is, in fact, important. Can you turn that off?
Just tap the top.
The center.
Yeah,
The center.
one more. There you go.
Okay. I think reason number one is I think people don't realize that their values are based on fear. Like, it doesn't mean that you're afraid of something so that you have a value. It's that the prevailing mood or moray of society is based on based on fears. So, like, for instance, you know that, like, say, like the thing that people know about the most is, like, girls complain about guys, hitting on them in the gym, right? Well, you know that maybe there was one girl that was harassed in the gym, but because it's understood that you get attention for that, 99% of the girls are doing it as attention grab. So they're not necessarily insecure when they're doing attention grab. They're saying, this is what's going to make me popular. So then, we adopt the fear of complaining to get noticed by other people, and then this is how you create conversation. And so I don't think people recognize that everything that creates danger or that could create danger is inherently bad, and everything that avoids a problem that people are afraid of is not necessarily righteousness. Like we said, love doesn't come from obsessing with a comfort zone or trying to promote yourself to a group. The business world, for the most part, operates in a safety zone. Now, the exception to this is like an entrepreneur like Bill Gates, who quit college to start Microsoft. Obviously, he didn't pick the safe ground, right? But typically, a business has to appease the public, and anytime there's a problem, they lose business.
Yeah, if you want to get financing, you got to prove to the bank that this is a sound venture.
Right, so then what's happened is I think that our values have now channeled those business principles.
Mm-hmm.
And although some good comes out of it, it doesn't, it's not actually perfect and holy, right? So like the other challenge, I think, is when you think of the Bible condemning sin, right? For the most part, it's black and white. This is not a black and white issue. This is not saying that every fear-based value is bad, or that everyone that does it is stupid, or that everything they learned is wrong. What it is, it's a subtle thing that actually eats away at your feelings. So like you can, like two people can come to a righteous value, and one do it biblically and one do it on fear. Both can be absolutely right. But if your value is based on fear, we're just explaining how it has a negative impact on your emotions. Like when you have fear-based values, you don't love people as much, even if you are a righteous person, because the focusing on problems and fears do not create excitement. They don't create love. They don't create enthusiasm, and they don't create faith. So some good things come out of it, like my truck. I was surprised because I do not have the high luxury truck, and I'm driving down the road, and there's someone walking on the sidewalk, and there's a little symbol of a person on my truck.
Yeah,
You know,
but
that's
that's
a
good.
nice thing to have. It probably comes from fear, but it's good. It makes driving safer. So I can't believe that my average truck has pedestrian
Warning.
warnings that would normally be attributed to a what you used to think would only be on a fancy luxury car, right?
Right.
But on the same token, like we say, people are now connecting with people through problems, and problems don't create a connection. So I submit to you that this is an unsustainable value system that we have that is not going to work 20 years from now, because as we said, if you for those of you that have been here, this hasn't always been on the YouTube channel, but we've said that if you actually devalue people that are different, then the next phase is for those people not to matter. We said this before Trump's second presidency, okay?
Right.
And then now you can see in the political world that war is now justified if we don't like the people.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it's okay to kill someone if they're. You see it on both sides, like you see it more now because Trump's in power, more on the conservatives, but like with the liberals, when they killed that healthcare CEO, a lot of people thought the guy was a hero because he was fighting an injustice against the bad people
Right.
that were raising healthcare costs. And then on the right, we blockaded Cuba. I don't know if we still are or not, but we blockaded them for at least 3 or 4 months. And what is the rationale for destroying the lives of the people in Cuba? Is it we just don't like them? Their lives don't matter?
The communists.
Right, so they're communists, so therefore they don't need food, clothing,
No.
utilities,
Right.
right? Like what did Cuba do to cause this blockade? Well,
Right.
they're not allies of us, so they buy stuff from other people that are allies of us. But is that an actual attack?
No.
Right, so that means that because we don't like them,
It's okay for them to suffer.
they are not of value.
Yeah.
Okay, well that is a fear. Okay, so now if you take that thinking strong enough, you end up with World War III,
Yes.
because it's impossible for every culture to actually think that every culture is good. So like if we weren't based on, if all of our values were not based on fear, we would actually, we didn't necessarily agree with cultures that are different, but we valued the people, in other cultures.
Right. Yeah. Live and let live.
Yeah, live and let live. That was an actual saying from the hippie culture in the '60s.
Right.
And then it got turned into a song with a slight change when they said "Live and Let Die," but it was based on "Live and Let Live." I think was the first version.
It was. Yeah.
Yes, and so therefore, I think that what people are doing, and the other thing that was true is before fears, you didn't necessarily like everybody, right? It'd be nice if everybody did like everybody, but you didn't like everybody. You had some people you're close to, some people you're not. So what's happening now is that the discrimination is that you like less people. So you basically, in the social sense, you just don't talk to people that you see as potential danger, and it creates, we're at the point now where people are not hospitable, families aren't as close, people don't know their cousins, people don't visit as often, people don't feel comfortable going into other people's houses, and people don't feel comfortable just being close to each other, and a lot of younger people, it's not just because of inflation. I think a lot of younger people don't feel comfortable actually being adults and starting a family. Like I read this survey, I don't know how true it is, I forgot the number, but it was something like 40% of people get social anxiety ordering meals at restaurants. And it was like, whether that's true or not, it's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
That's because fear has become so common that a lot of people have fear when there's absolutely nothing to be afraid of whatsoever. And so then your values then start to get formed from that. So this is destroying the world. This is causing World War III, and it's already caused isolation and loneliness. It's caused people to not talk to each other. This is why this is the most important message that you'll hear in this time. This would not be of any value 40 years ago. Nobody 40 years ago even needed to listen to any of this because it wasn't a fear-based world, 40 years ago. Okay, so now we have a couple questions, and unfortunately I can't read everything I wrote because I wrote this a while ago, but so how has fear made humility more challenging?
I think part of what fosters humility is like a degree of openness or trust. So like if I'm not afraid of everybody, then I don't mind telling you what I did wrong. But if I think I'm going to be attacked for every mistake, then I'm going to keep it to myself.
One thing that we've noticed in the last decade or two is that when the culture wasn't fear-based, pride looked more like, say, Donald Trump, right? The way he is.
Right.
Like, I'm the greatest. Nobody knows this better than me. Right?
Right.
But for a person that is insecure, pride has a very different look to it than Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Okay? So, like, if you're really insecure, or insecure in a different way than he is, right? If you're insecure based on fear, rather, then pride is not being able to handle correction.
Right.
Pride is not believing that anything you think can be wrong.
Right.
Pride is not recognizing that your group could be making a mistake or what you've aligned yourself to can be.
Right.
So what we've learned is, like, if someone's insecure, pride is more intellectual than it is emotional. So the emotional pride is the used car salesman that has to validate self. But our fear-based values now are more based on not wanting to accept anything that contradicts a decision or a circumstance that you have. So because people can't handle recognizing a flaw in their life, then it becomes harder to be humble. And then the other irony is that if you're insecure, you don't want to put yourself out there. It actually looks humble compared to the pride in the past. So intellectual pride looks humble on the surface.
Yeah.
Especially if you grew up understanding pride to be the used car salesman or somebody like Donald Trump who wants to have his name on everything, right?
Right.
That was how we understood pride all the way, for centuries, that's what pride looked like, right?
Right.
So I think this pride is more subtle. The fear-based pride is more subtle than the pride that came when people were trying to be happy.
Yeah.
Okay. So how has fear-based values made society less generous, or make people less generous? Now, some ways it actually has the opposite. It makes them more generous. But as a whole, well, we can talk about both. Let's first talk about how does fear-based values make you less generous?
Well, I think when you're looking at everybody that's different than you as being bad and wrong, then it's hard to say, okay, these people need my compassion. Like, why do I care about them? They're suffering from their own stupidity. That's not my problem.
Right, yeah. Like, if you look in the political world, the liberals have no compassion on the people that foolishly voted for Trump because they're getting what they deserve.
Right.
And then the people that vote for Trump don't have any compassion on immigrants or people in other
Yeah, if
countries.
you live in a blue state, then you deserve to suffer.
Right, and then if you're a conservative, you don't care if millions of people are dying from cutting out U.S. aid,
No.
or if healthcare costs have skyrocketed. They said something like something like 114,000 people that need to go to the doctor don't in America because it costs so much.
Yeah, fear definitely creates more selfishness.
Right.
I can't share because I need this for me.
Right. So in your circle, you might be more generous than people in the past.
Yeah,
You might say, okay, you're one of me. You're fighting the good fight.
yeah, I need to support you.
Right. So I saw this story on, I think it was YouTube this morning, of this black man that had 27 years service at Burger King, and they gave him like a little box of trinkets as appreciation.
Mm.
And his daughter, that he thought that her father deserved more, because he got the job he raised 4 kids.
Yeah,
So they did a GoFundMe channel, and he got $400,000,
wow.
which is nice. And
Yeah,
I almost think this is why I'm saying it's not all bad. So I
Right.
think the fear culture kind of has a positive side to it.
mm-hmm.
It was, the people that identified with him did this. And, people aren't stupid. So there's reasons why we get caught up in this mess. It's not like it's not black and white. So you look at that guy getting $400,000 on GoFundMe because they're saying, we want to help a single dad. We want to help a black man.
Correct this injustice.
We want to correct this injustice. And I don't know if you want to call it injustice or not, but it was nice, and it helped the guy, and he's probably a guy that's worthy, of it, but for the most part, from a total societal standpoint, is that we're not as generous because we're also afraid that we need the money ourselves
Right.
more. We put ourselves above others, and we're afraid of, if we help these people, something bad will happen. We help them, we could get sued, and then also when you just kill the happiness and you don't believe that people care about you. Like, one thing that actually affects me is, it occurred to me 3 or 4 months ago that if I'm helping homeless people, we're not going to be friends.
Right.
Like I think if you go back when I was a kid, like if someone was down on their luck, you helped them, and they brought them to the church. You included them in your family, and they became a part of your community.
Right.
Whereas now, it's just a transaction of, let me give you money, and
See you later.
and see you later. There's no warmth behind the gift, and I think that that's because of the fear-based values on both sides. I think the giver is afraid to be close to the homeless person, then the homeless person is afraid they're being judged if they get to become friends with someone on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
So because of fear, you don't actually create a friendship with your charity in this modern fear-based value system. And I think that, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think it makes us less generous, because it feels like, what did I get for this money? Like, not to be selfish, but if you actually help somebody, you almost think this might create a lifelong bond as a friend.
Right.
I don't have that feeling right now
Right.
in our world.
Yeah.
Did anyone have any thoughts on that topic?
I mean, I've experienced that. I could tell stories, but it does. The whole fear mindset does like squash the idea of like inclusiveness. Like we can't be part of the same world. So what's the point?
Yeah, and if you say to someone you want to hang out at my house, they think this means that you want to kidnap them.
Lock them in the basement.
Right, yeah. And I even seen homeless people that I've got in my house that are afraid to take a shower, which I don't completely understand.
Yeah.
Okay, how does fear, which I addressed this a little bit in an answer a few minutes ago, but how does the fear-based values make it more challenging for a person to change their mind? Definitely said enough to make this an easy answer.
Well, I think there's when you think this way, there's a fear of like submitting to somebody else. Like I don't want somebody else to tell me what to think or somebody else to control my thoughts. Like this, you know, the intellectual pride says I think what I think, and that these are my thoughts. If I have to change my mind based on something somebody else said, then I'm weak.
I think that's true to a small percentage of it, but I think there's a bigger one, and we've learned this from politics, right? Okay, can't why can't a Trump supporter recognize, hey, I'm a conservative, but I don't support Trump? Why is there not more of those out there?
Because then they'll be isolated. They'll be kicked out of the club.
Well, they're also afraid that they'll look like they support gays.
Yeah.
They're afraid, and what you said, yeah, they're afraid they're going to be kicked out of the group. They're afraid that their family isn't going to like them.
Right.
They're afraid that it could cost them their job. What if, like, their boss is a Trump supporter?
Right.
They're afraid that it could cost them their family. Like, what if their wife and kids and cousins and people are? We've seen, people do that. People are afraid to say. They think it means that they have to like Camilla to realize that Trump was wrong.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. Yeah.
And, or they're afraid to then just agree with a policy that's bad could alienate them from the group.
Mm-hmm.
So then, this is an example, and it's on both sides, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we've seen, it's worse because, like I said, the Republicans have a worse leader. But like the thing with the Gene commercial, the A&E commercial with Sydney Sweeney, it was downright crazy that all the liberals viewed that as racism.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and she's not actually the world's most beautiful girl either. You know, and but needless to say, we're going to demonize people that are different. So if everyone calls that racist that's in your group, then you're afraid that you might look like you're not sensitive to black people if you disagree. You might feel like you're not as good as the other people in the group that are taking a stand for that cause that's for equality. Right now you're one of them, right.
Yeah.
Now, whereas if your values weren't based on fear, you would have the liberty to say, is this true? Do I think that she was thinking of black people when they filmed that commercial?
Right.
Or is it true that conservatism is to,
Hate all the immigrants.
create tariffs all around the world?
Right.
You know, and allow our president to make $2 trillion from the presidency and to threaten all kinds of countries?
Never was a conservative platform in the past.
Right? Was it a conservative platform? Was conservatives not into free trade?
Absolutely.
Wasn't it the conservatives that were pushing that more than the liberals?
Yes.
So, like, when Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, wasn't he going away from the Democrats and going with the conservatives?
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he was criticized.
Right. And so, it would seem as though if you focused on truth, then you don't have the bondage of, am I being separated from my group?
Right.
Am I going to look bad? How does it look if I say that I'm associating with this person?
Right.
You know, you focus on
one issue at a time.
One issue at a time, and then you're looking at it from the perspective of, is it good? Is it true? Is it right?
Yeah.
And you're not connecting it to a fear of your identity.
Right.
You know, same thing is true with Christianity. If you actually read the Bible, read the commandments, then you focus on the truth of the commandments and how does this line up with how you worship, right?
Right.
So if a commandment contradicts your church, you realize your church is wrong.
Right.
You don't necessarily, but if you're thinking of fear, you're like, uh-oh, if I realize my church is wrong, what does that mean? No one's going to like me?
It might, but that's not relevant to whether it's true or not.
But then people put that fear above the truth.
Right.
And it starts off as not a big deal, but I think we're now getting to the point when you see like it's starting irrational wars.
Right.
Then you
very destructive.
It is ultimately going to lead to Armageddon, in my opinion. Armageddon is not just people deciding a battle randomly. What happens is we move away from God, we change our values from Christian values to more self-centered values, and then people aren't as unified, and then that's how you get Armageddon, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
Okay. How does fear-based values make society as a whole, make people more depressed?
Well, I think it's very hard to be happy if you think everything's a problem, everything's a threat. What do I gotta not say here? What do I gotta not say there? Like, what are you actually gonna be able to enjoy? And then what's your hope? Like, tomorrow's gonna be the same thing. Like, I gotta go through all this.
Well, if you're a guy, you say, "Oh, I like this girl." Oh, yeah, she might think I'm too old. Okay. Oh, I made all kinds of money. Oh, they're gonna think I'm greedy. Or am I greedy because I made too much money? People gonna think I'm bad because I made a lot of money today. Or you think, okay, I lost all kinds of weight. Is anyone gonna notice? Oh, they might be afraid to say that you were fat before. And oh, they might be worried. What if I gained weight? Maybe I can't notice that you lost weight. You know. And then, or you might be thinking, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to go buy this person a brand new car, and they're going to, well, no, they're going to think, oh, I'm trying to control them. I can't buy them a new car. I'm going to be nice to the new people that moved in down the road. I'm going to invite them over to the house. Oh,
They're
might
not gonna
think
wanna do that.
they're going to think I'm a lunatic, right? If I do this, and maybe they don't want to talk to me in the first place.
Yeah, so then what do you got to look forward to?
Right. So when you start thinking this way about everything, how does that cause depression?
Well, you have nothing to look forward to. There's nothing happy. Anything you do isn't going to make anybody happy. How are you going to be happy?
Right. So every human emotion or every human desire is now checked by a fear.
Right.
Right. And so because a fear has, so even if the neighbors do like you, how does the fear cause you? How does that kill your feelings, even if it works?
Well, I think it still limits how much they can like you or how close you can become. Like,
Well, something I learned about 10 years ago when I was trying to figure out why people don't want to be happy is I learned, say you want to go to your favorite restaurant. Mine is like Smith and Walensky, right? Okay, so we're going to go there, and I'm going to be happy because I'm going to my favorite place, right? A mystery that I learned a decade ago, right,
yeah,
is that going to the place is about 20% of the happiness.
yeah,
80% of the happiness is the anticipation
right.
of going, which means that and I'm guessing on the percentages. I'm not like, don't
You
quote
can't
me.
quantify it.
Right. But faith is at least 80% of the good feelings.
Yeah.
So say I want to do something for one of you and I'm happy. That means I'm anticipating I'll make you happy.
Right.
So say I anticipate it won't make you happy
Right.
and I'm wrong. I've still killed 80% of that feeling
Yeah.
because I'm thinking you're going to not like it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then what happens is if you then like it more than what I thought, you know, I mean, there is ways of fixing this, but society doesn't do it. So say I kill that feeling and you could sense that I'm being insecure about your reaction, then you can then go and over explain how happy it is and then do something for me, then that builds it back.
Right.
But that's how it worked before fear-based cultures. If
Mm-hmm.
you're afraid yourself, then you might think, you might be afraid of me being happy. What does that say?
Mm-hmm.
Like, people are afraid of human emotions, afraid of human feelings, and afraid of love, and afraid of affection. So the reason they're afraid of it is not because they're afraid of affection intellectually. is that they've learned to respond to stimulation with fear.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, so like if they date someone, it's not based on happiness or excitement, it's based on two people that respond to fear in a way that they find creates a worldly sense of peace. Like, oh, you're afraid of the same thing I am. We're now building ourselves together to combat these problems.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in a non-fear based society, is based on you make me excited.
Right.
You know, I love you. I think you're a good person. You think I'm a good person. You know,
Right.
and it's based on a stimulation of the senses, based on stimulation of your values, stimulation of your emotions. So I think that what connected people before fear-based value was stimulation. And now I think it's based on intellectual promotion of an identity
Mm-hmm.
and a cause that puts us better than other groups.
Yeah.
You know. And I think it's so subtle people don't realize it. Like I think when you're younger, the cause might just be being cool.
Yeah.
And it looks normal because people when they were happy they were trying to be cool too. It's
Mm-hmm.
but the motivation behind it is different.
Yeah.
We'll do another question before the bathroom, right? Okay. So how has our fear-based values affected how sociable we are to strangers?
I mean, the reason for like being sociable is you're expecting, kind of like you said, when you're expecting, if you're generous, that it might create some sort of relationship. If you're looking for and anticipating building relationships, then you'll be sociable. But if you don't have any positive anticipation, you wouldn't even bother.
Yeah, well, I think with fear-based values, you think there's a danger in talking to a stranger, and not everybody sees the danger the exact same way. Like, one person can think that the stranger might assault you. Another person might think the stranger might want to exploit something from you. Another person might think that the stranger might take their time. And another person might think that if I talk to this stranger, I'll look weird to other people, right? There's no limit to the things that you can choose to be afraid of. And these are just things that I'm just thinking of off the top of my head. I'm sure there's 100 more things that I can't think of, or more than that, right? But I think that basically fear-based values makes engaging others uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So then as a result of that, we don't have ways of becoming friends with people that we don't know. So then the closest that we do, which I don't do anymore, I've done it a little bit in the past, but is they do apps where people might look at a fake profile on the internet and then try to get to know somebody, but that's that's better than say never talking to a stranger at all.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really the best way. Like if you go during the Christian era, a whole community belonged to a church group. And if you were in a different church group, you knew that the other people were in a similar church group. So then if you date somebody from church, then you say, okay, they have the same values.
Right.
And then when the church was alive, then there was different friends in the church, and then everybody talked more, so strangers weren't as different as they are today, because everybody kind of knew everybody in the community.
Yeah.
When it was so now that society's become more fragmented, a stranger, you don't feel as strong a connection as you did with a stranger before. So then people are just meeting people off an app on their phone, and then they're hoping that it's okay, and then they probably have safety mechanisms attached to the phone. Like some people have someone that they can press a button if it looks dangerous, or they meet in a place where they don't have to give any information out. And so I think that the safety idea has gotten so absurd that you can't just be open and friendly and talkative.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, you're judged constantly, and you're judged from the perspective of, can this create a danger? And once again, the danger doesn't have to be physical danger. It can be social danger. It's like, oh, this person might look bad. This person's weird, so on and so forth. Whereas during the church age, you would say, is this a good Christian? Is this a good person? Is this someone that would make a good parent? Is this someone that I could trust? I don't think people are asking those questions in the fear-based value system. I think in the fear-based value system, is this person weird? What would my friends think of them? Are they going to be a financial burden to me? So on and so forth. Okay, during the bathroom break, someone made a point that I think is worth mentioning, that I think we alluded to part of it, but we didn't make enough of it, okay? Which is that with the fear-based values, okay, I think part of what we mentioned, the part that we have addressed, but let's just be more specific, is the belief that something bad is going to happen if someone different than you has their way, or if you're close to them, or if you agree with them, any way of acknowledging, the difference, right? Okay, but the other point that I don't think I've addressed at all, that Emma made, and I'll see if I can think of a question or two, but I don't know, I'm just going to make the point, is that as people, if we're objective, we can see that there's a lot to a person other than the thing that we disagree with. And I've thought of this in my life. Like, I have a friend on Facebook that I helped once that we don't talk much. We're very different, and she has lived a life of being a drug addict, and she's dedicated her life to helping the homeless. And then her and I are just not going to be friends, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, and so, but the thing is that she's an advocate for homeless, and almost everything that she does is good. So we need to, I feel like, just because of her lifestyle, her habits are so contrary to mine, you can't say she's a bad person, even if you don't agree. If you don't like you don't have to connect to somebody
to acknowledge where they're good.
I don't think it would be appropriate to attack this girl because she's always helping people.
Right.
Or even to acknowledge their humanity. Like, even if they're not good, they're still a human being.
Yes, okay, that's on a separate topic. Okay, we got two things. Let's first address the nuances, okay? So we can like people that are different, and it doesn't have to be all good or all bad. So, my favorite people, or my favorite person, if you will, is different than me, and I like that. Right? So if someone is different, if you like I don't know, I don't necessarily like people that are 100% exactly like me.
Right. Because
I'm a little bit rigid and a little bit structured. I like people that can have the talent to get me out of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if you're going to get me out of that, that means that we're different, right? That means that sometimes it's good to be rigid and structured, so sometimes there'll be something that I have that's a better trait than the people that I like more. And then there's sometimes that those people are better than me because they have more of an ability to see things in a more clear way, or to be more peaceful, and be more kind, be more genuine. And so differences kind of help make people more complete. And so people from a different culture, like, okay, we were talking about Cuba before, right? I am sure there's all kinds of saints in Cuba. There's all kinds of wonderful people, even though their government is different than ours. And there's probably people that are bad. And the same thing is true here in America. So like we talk about the immigrants. We need the immigrants to keep this economy to go the way that we do, to sustain society. And this is having a disastrous impact on our economy. this anti-immigrant policy, but like have like if you took an average immigrant and compared it to an average American, they commit about half the crimes that an average American does. So that doesn't mean zero crimes, but it's half. It's not more, right?
Right.
So basically, there's good immigrants, there's bad immigrants. There's people that have a good point in life that's different than you, right? So if you talk to someone that you disagree with, it doesn't mean that they're all wrong. Doesn't mean that they're all bad. Everything in life has different degrees of nuances. I mean, it would be nice in one sect if we were all 100% either righteous or bad, okay? But we're not entirely that way. Now, the Bible says a good tree doesn't bring forth evil fruit, and an evil tree doesn't bring forth good fruit. So it's true that we're, some people are good and some people aren't, right? But not every fruit is the same fruit. There's kiwis, there's pineapples, there's grapes, etc., right? So a good person can come to something different. And then one thing I've noticed is that disagreeing, if someone's wrong and they're a good person, understand my perception of you being right or wrong. I'm not God, right? So like if you're a good person, I might be wrong. This happens a lot with work. Like, well, this happened to me just a week ago. Like I have one worker, that calls a little too much, right? So the phone's ringing. I'm like, oh gosh, what's this? It says, Wayne left his bike at the highway garage. And I felt so humbled. Nobody in the world knew that I was annoyed at the call, right? Then I was instantly humbled because he was doing something nice.
Yeah, helping somebody else out.
Helping somebody out, right. So he had really good intentions with the call, and I was annoyed. So my annoyance was wrong. Right. Or somebody that's good can also be wrong.
Yeah.
They can do something insensitive.
Right.
Someone that's generous can also be greedy.
Right. We all make mistakes.
Right. That's why we all need each other. This is why it's not good to be in an isolated world, because sometimes our differences can accentuate the good and eliminate the bad.
Mm-hmm.
This is why Paul says like the church is like a body.
Yeah.
That it's all connected.
Right.
So my rigidness and my study of biblical values can help the church, but that isn't all that the church needs. It needs the warmth in ways I'm lacking. It needs people bringing people closer together. It needs more than just a good understanding of doctrine. A good understanding of doctrine doesn't make you better than someone that doesn't have as good of an understanding.
Right.
And as long as we're all subject to Christ, that is.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, if we understood that there was good, there wouldn't be so much division. So like in the political world, people think that they have to think that everybody on their side, that every decision is right. During the Christian era, we knew this wasn't true. This is half the reason that we worship God in the first place, is you've got one being in the universe that is 100% right about everything, which means that everybody else isn't.
Is going to be wrong.
Right. Everybody else has made a mistake. And so like with this idea that my identity needs to be correct, we're actually putting our social circle in the place of the Bible, assuming that it's an all-knowing being. So like right now, this is why people accuse the Trump supporters of being in a cult, is because I don't think they initially wanted to be in a cult, but they're assuming that because it became so dogmatic to disagree, then the people that stay loyal, do better, and then to stay loyal, you have to agree with everything the way you would the Bible, and then hence you're in a cult.
Yeah.
And you see it to a lesser degree in our country on the liberal side, but I don't think there is as big of a division with the moderate liberals as there is the progressives, as you see on MAGA, because on the conservative side the moderates get kicked out,
Yeah.
and I don't know that there's some of the progressives want to kick out some of the moderates, but it's not nearly as divisive
Yeah.
as it is on the conservative
Yeah.
side.
There's a zero tolerance for criticism on the conservative side.
Where on the liberal side there is little tolerance. Little is a lot different than zero.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, but needless to say, and you know, it's not just politics. It's social, right? So if you're old, you're bad. Well, what if somebody biologically is young? You know, if you're on welfare, then you're trash. If you're rich, then you're greedy and you're hurting the poor. If you don't know this piece of information, you're stupid. One thing I've learned is you know, the family that's a part of this Bible study has a lot of geniuses, disproportionate. Like a lot of people in the top 1% of intellectual intelligence have come and gone and are related to most of the people. And one thing I learned from having the ability to know people that are genius on the IQ level is that if you look at a movie, a genius knows everything about everything. But if you get in real life, and we had this conversation a couple days ago, is that if you're smart, you're basically smarter in the area that you're smart than other people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody I know is smart, and everybody I know is stupid. So the people that I know that are geniuses, they might have a little broader spectrum of things that they know, but it's not that much bigger. You know, so you know, like someone that has an IQ of 100 can very well be can be smarter than someone that has an IQ of 150 in the area that they're interested in. Like let's use an obvious point, right? Let's take a professional basketball player. They definitely are smarter on sports and basketball than a computer programmer. You know, just because you're a computer programmer doesn't mean you
know more about basketball.
It's not just how the points go. It's how you move your legs, how you know, the coordination of dribbling, or when to pass it here, when to pass it there, what you do with your hand on the follow through. Those things require a certain type of intelligence, right? And so, but not everyone thinks that every basketball player, every athlete is a genius, right?
Right.
And maybe they're not geniuses, but you know, they're probably no different than everybody else. They probably have some people that are geniuses. I heard the model, the X model, Cindy Crawford. I think her IQ is either 140 or 160 or something. There's actual fashion models that are geniuses, but that doesn't mean that they're smart in every area.
Yeah.
Same thing is true with your values. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people that are good some are good in one area,
Mm-hmm.
and some are good in different areas.
Yeah.
You know, so like we say, Benjamin here is the most helpful person that I know, right? He's more likely to help a person in need than anybody else here. Okay,
Yeah.
That's a really good thing. Now I'm more likely to take time to disciple that person than he is. I'm more likely to give him my time, right? Well, that doesn't mean I'm better than him because I'm more likely to do that, and it doesn't mean I'm a bad person because I'm not as helpful as he is. You have two people together, and you have something good,
Right.
right? You have a system that works if you take your goodness and so if you see me then being selfish when I could have helped when he doesn't, you know, you don't necessarily have to think I'm the worst person in the world, or if you see him not following through on trying to bond with somebody, wait a second, he's just willing to risk his life to save you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so intelligence works this way, goodness works this way. People that entertain you, it's this way. Sometimes people are fun in one circumstance and they're not fun in another. You know, so from the shallow things to the deeper things, there's a lot of elements of people that are different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we can find the goodness in a person, then their weak areas are easier to swallow, and it also makes us appreciate them as a person more in totality. And if we're looking for the goodness, then we see the good parts of them. Whereas if we're fearful, then we look at every little flaw that they have, we miss out on the virtue that they have to offer, and we're just seeing the things that we're afraid of. I don't know if that does a good job of addressing the nuances or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
We are going to spend at least one more week on this topic. We'll close here. Dear God, I pray that everybody here learns that faith is more valuable than fear, not just intellectually, but emotionally, spiritually, and physically. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.